Hello everyone and welcome to our special meeting of Council for the 19th of August 2020. As the meeting chair, I give my consent for this open Council meeting to be streamed live, recorded and published online in accordance with Council's live streaming policy and meeting procedure law 2018. The chair and or the CEO have the discretion and the authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behaviour and or comments. Thank you. Virtual meeting statement. The COVID-19 Omnibus Bill 2020 provision allows council meeting attendances by electronic means. The requirement of the meeting being open to the public is satisfied by the meeting being streamed live to council's internet. In the event of technical issues with the live streaming, the meeting will be adjourned. Councils are deemed as being in attendance if they can hear proceedings, they can see other members in attendance and can be seen by other members, and they can be heard to speak. A reminder, please, to turn off all your mobile phones, and I'm not looking at anyone in particular. And I now go to Councillor Jeff Ellis for a statement of acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Tazari. Bass Coast Shire Council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first Australians and recognises that they have a unique relationship with the land and the water. Council further recognises that we are situated on the lands of the traditional owners, the Bunurong, members of the Kulin Nation who have lived here for thousands of years. We offer our respect to their elders, past and present, and through them, all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. I now ask Councillor Rothfield for the Councillor statement.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. All members of this council pledge to the Bass Coast Shire community to consider every item listed on this agenda, based on the individual merits of each item, without bias or prejudice, by maintaining an open mind, and disregarding councillors' personal interests so as to avoid any conflict with our public duty. Any councillor having a conflict of interest in an item will make a proper prior disclosure to the meeting and will not participate in the debate or vote on the issue.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. Presents and apologies. I have an apology from Councillor Julian Brown, who won't be present for today's meeting. I have no other apologies. Declaration of interest. Does anybody declare a declaration of interest? I have none. Public question time. I have no question. I've received no questions. Petitions, joint letters, deputations and correspondence. I have received none. Notices of motion. I have none. Reports requiring council decision. Item number F1, Wonthaggi Cemetery Trust, and I ask of Ms Borley to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present the Wonthaggi Cemetery Operations Update, Master Plan Update and Finance Update to Council for consideration.
Thank you, Ms Borley. Can I have somebody move and second the recommendation as it reads? Councillor Rothfield, and seconded Councillor Ellis. Councillor Rothfield.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This is a normal procedure that we go through each month, that looking at our what we've achieved so far in the Wonthaggi Cemetery. There's a couple of things that I'd like to point out. We have a cemetery administration officer now for quite a few years, the same one, and she's doing a fabulous job. Her operation and her legislative knowledge has improved amazingly, so much so that we've got other Class B Victorian cemeteries contacting us and asking us in regards to information on how we administer our cemetery. So that's a wonderful thing. The report basically goes through what's happened throughout the year, and gives us a snapshot on how we've travelled in comparison to previous years, as well as going through what we've performed in our master plan update, including we've got a new granite niche wall, which is terrific and has been achieved. There's just a couple of questions I do have, and I don't know if I've got, if our Robin can answer this, Miss Borley. We talk in the area of finance. Is it this one? Wait a second. No, I'll wait till the next one. It's the next issue. Next, the next item. Okay. No, so that's basically it. I think, yeah, I commend the reports.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor Tazari. I appreciate Councillor Rothfield's diligence, and I find it hard to add anything to a discussion of the report. I think it's a very great report. I just want to point out that I drive past the cemetery every day. I know these days you don't leave home as often as you do, but every time I drive out of Harmers Haven, I drive past the cemetery, and I often see C2A. They're a disability employment service that we pay to maintain the place, and I always find it looking spick and span, and I have seen that officer that Councillor Rothfield was talking about over there supervising them some days. So I think everything's running well, and I commend the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Lark.
Yes, I'd just like an update on two matters. In terms of the timing of when these may come forward, firstly, the detailed cemetery infrastructure development strategy, when that's likely to be tabled. And secondly, when the interment register audit is complete and will report to council.
Ms. Borley, are you seeking that clarification now, Councillor Lark, or would you like to take that on notice?
I am seeking that clarification.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd have to take those questions on notice and get back to you, Councillor Lark.
Thank you, Ms. Borley. Thank you, Councillor Lark. Would anyone else like to speak to or against the recommendation? No. Councillor Rothfield, would you like to close or put it to a vote?
I think we're happy to put this to a vote. I just would like to point out that you know, this year we've transferred something like over $30,000 to perpetual maintenance account. So, you know, we continue to improve. We've got $341,000 in perpetual maintenance. When we first came on board, there was like zero. So it's improving each year, and well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothfield. We'll put it to a vote. All in favour of the recommendation as it reads. Councillor Tassari, Ellis, Kent, Lark, Fullerton, Rothfield, Laserve and Whelan. Carried. Okay, item number F2, the San Remo Cemetery Trust report to be presented by Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present the San Remo Cemetery Operations Update, Master Plan Update and Finance Update to Council for consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Borley. Can I have somebody move and second this recommendation? Councillor Rothfield, and seconded Councillor Ellis. Councillor Rothfield.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. This really shows how difficult it is to run a very small cemetery, and really how lucky we are that council runs it. Because even though there might be only 2 burials a year, we still have to maintain the grounds, and it's not possible to be done without the support of council. We have an cemetery administration person who works between 3 and 5 days a week on cemeteries. There's a lot of work to be done. And as I say, I think the community should be very grateful that we actually have someone like council looking after a tiny little cemetery like San Remo, and they have their challenges. It's really pleasing to see the progress being made with the cemetery master plan. Most things are being done, and what's not completed is certainly in progress mostly. So I'm quite happy. It's a slow process, but as I say, and a challenging one for a small cemetery. The only question I do have, this is the one that I was going to pose in the last item, was that we've got in the cemetery finance update here, Miss Bawley, that we've got $18,000 in the DHHS grants. It was received and acquitted. Yet when I look at the abstract of accounts, there's no mention of the DHH grants in general in the income section. Can anyone help me with that?
Ms.
Through
Ball?
you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'll have to take that question on notice, Councillor Rothfield, and get back to you with a response on that one.
Okay, and the only other question I've got also on the abstract of accounts is, seeing we've only had basically 2 burials, I think it was, in San Remo for this year, was it? Yep, 4 interments, right. There was $20,000 in revenue, which is really sort of doesn't tell to me. That doesn't seem right. So there might be something in that might need just a little bit of clarification, if I could.
Ms. Bawley, you happy to take that?
Yep, absolutely, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Councillor Ellis.
Thanks, Mayor Tazari. I think Councillor Rothfield has covered it very well indeed. I can add no value to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No? Councillor Rothfield, would you like to close or put it to a vote?
That's fine.
All in favour of the recommendation as it reads. Councillor Tassari, Ellis, Kent, Lark, Fullerton, Rothfield, Laserve, and a little finger at the bottom of the screen is Councillor Whelans. Carried. Okay, that brings us to urgent business, of which I have none. Is there any urgent business coming forward? No. Okay. Let me turn the page. So that brings us to the end of our meeting. So I'd like to announce that our next meeting of Council is monitoring and implementing the COVID-19 pandemic response and restrictions set out by the state and federal governments. Council will be pausing community connections, or will continue to pause community connections for the coming months. The next ordinary council meeting will be held virtually today in a half an hour's time, or 27 minutes time, at 1 o'clock, and will be open to the public via live stream. The following ordinary council meeting will be held virtually on the 16th of September 2020, commencing at 1 o'clock, and will also be held to public via live stream. We thank you for watching the live stream of Council's special meeting, and I now declare this meeting closed. If we could all just wait for our comms team to let us know that we're closed.